The issues affecting you. Revealed, explained, discussed. Now on WGAL 8 in Focus.
Hello, I'm Susan Shapiro. Summer is the season for swimming, playing, and road construction. PennDOT is overseeing a slew of projects in the Susquehanna Valley and throughout the state, costing millions of dollars. How does the agency decide what gets done and when? And how do they keep it safe? Tonight, we're putting summer road construction in focus. Joining us now is Dave Thompson. He's the District Press Officer for PennDOT District 8. Thanks so much for being here.
It's good to be here, Susan.
Sounds like a silly question, but why is the summer the season of construction projects?
Well, that's when we get our warm, dry weather, and those are the conditions that are most conducive to doing a lot of the construction work that we do, paving and things like that.
Why is winter weather not appropriate for some projects?
Well, temperatures, precipitation is not conducive to doing certain construction activities. There are some things that can be done during the winter, like, for example, demolishing a bridge or doing some kind of earth-moving activities and things like that. But the warm, dry weather is the best weather for getting these projects done.
So you're jamming a lot of work into a few months' time.
Yeah. When the window is open, we have to work during those times.
Most of these big projects are put out for bid, and PennDOT is not doing the work itself. Why is that?
Well, I think our contractors have the resources and the expertise to do these large, complex projects that we have. For example, the I-83 project in the Harrisburg area has a lot of moving parts to it. It's very complex, and our contractors have the resources and the manpower to perform that work.
How do you prioritize projects for this, like the summer of 2024?
A lot of it's kind of a boots on the ground observation. You know, we inspect our bridges every 2 years. If there's an issue with the bridge, we might inspect it more often than that, maybe annually or every 6 months. So when we determine that a bridge, for example, is in need of some TLC or a replacement, through our inspection process, we can identify that and prioritize that bridge. The same way with, our highways and roads, we measure what we call the International Roughness Index of a roadway. Sometimes it's just observing the fact that a road is in disrepair. And then we, make a list of projects and present them to our municipal planning organizations, which and then they decide how the funding that we have available is used for those projects.
You mentioned the International Roughness Index. So
IRI.
what is that, and what does that entail?
It's kind of a seat of your pants measurement that measures the roughness of a road. We have vans that have technology in it that drives over our roads and actually measures the bumps in the road.
During the summer, a lot of people, I'm sure you're aware, kind of complain that everywhere they go, there's construction.
And they're right. They're right. There's a lot of construction going on around here, especially around here. It seems like there's a lot going on here, a lot of big projects. But, it's just a necessary thing that we do to maintain the highway network and bridges that we have in Pennsylvania. And we have a lot of road miles and we have a lot of bridges here in South Central Pennsylvania in PennDOT District 8 as well.
So it's just the nature of the beast.
It's the nature of the beast. We have lots of roads, we have a lot of bridges, we have a lot of traffic, we have aggressive freeze-thaw cycles during the winter. So our roads and bridges take a beating with traffic, with weather, and it's a fairly old transportation network as well. So, you put that all together and it adds up to a lot of work that we have to do.
You often hear drivers say, but go to Maryland. They have so much, their roads are in so much better shape. Is that a misconception?
That's comparing apples to oranges. The funding mechanism that Maryland has for funding transportation and who oversees that is different. The traffic volumes, the roadway miles that they have, the amount of bridges, rivers, and streams that we have. So it's really hard to compare one state to the other. But Pennsylvania has an enormous transportation system. It's one of the largest in the country. We have a winter. We have a lot of traffic, as you know, just probably in your day-to-day driving.
Sure.
In the Lancaster area. So it's really hard to compare Pennsylvania to another state.
Right. We have the perfect storm here in Pennsylvania.
Yep, we do, sure
Stay
do.
with us, Dave. We'll talk more about the I-83 project and the master plan for that huge project coming up.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus. Coverage you can count on.
We're talking roads and road construction with Dave Thompson, who's the district press officer for PennDOT District 8. Again, thanks for being here, Dave. You mentioned I-83. That is a huge project that, if I'm not mistaken, you had the master plan. It started in 2002 and is expected to go to 2034. That seems like an incredible amount of time.
Yeah, this project's been underway for quite a while. I mean, we did the northern section of what we call the Capital Beltway project, the I-83 Capital Beltway project. We did what, they're broken down in East Shore Section 1, East Shore Section 2, and East Shore Section 3. We've completed East Shore Section 1, which is from I-81, on I-83 from I-81 to Union Deposit Road. We have this middle section, which we were going to call the Eisenhower interchange, and then East Shore Section 3, which we're currently working on now, which is from Cameron Street to 29th Street in the Harrisburg area. So yeah, it's a long project. It's I would say it's a once-in-a-lifetime project, a generational project.
Once in our lifetime, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, as I say that, we also are looking at the South Bridge, which is, you know, we hope to put out to bid and start construction in a couple of years. So that's another one of those types of projects. So we do have some very large, complex, and interesting work going on in that area. And that section of I-83, part of the Capital Beltway project's one of them. And it's an enormous project, and it's going to be great when it's completed.
Why would that take so long?
I mean, it's a massive amount of work that's being done. We're not just paving over I-83. We're reconstructing it. We're going right down to the dirt. We're widening it. We're replacing bridges that are spanning the highway because we're widening it. So the current bridges, such as the 29th Street Bridge, which is closing July 8th to be replaced, you know, they need to be lengthened just to accommodate the wider highway. So there's a lot of work that's being done. There's drainage work that's being done. We're building a new interchange at Cameron Street. It's amazing amount of work. Yeah.
How often do you run into, for a bad pun, roadblocks when a construction project has begun and maybe has to be tweaked or changed?
Yeah, I mean, every project has its own challenges and issues, and they do come up. Utility relocations is an example of that. Before we start working on a project, we give our utilities an opportunity to, or we might need them to move their utilities outside of the work area or relocate them. And sometimes that gets behind. An example of that is the Centerville Road interchange project, where we're a little bit behind schedule because the utility relocation took more time than anticipated. So, you know, I've seen projects where they've dug down looking for a utility that they thought was there and found out it was somewhere else, and you kind of got to go back to the drawing board a little bit and you know, you have to react to that and maybe change course a little bit.
Right.
But
Centerville Road's another project that a lot of people feel like has been going on forever.
it's been going on for a while. I think it started in late 2022, and it's not going to wrap up till next July. That's the you know, the completion expected completion time. But there again, that's a lot of work in that area. It's you know, they're reconfiguring the interchange itself. They're widening Centerville Road between Marietta and Route 462, and you know, building a larger, wider bridge So there's a lot of work going on there.
People are glad. Once it's done, they're okay. What about the Route 222, Route 30 interchange?
There's another.
It took down part of the bridge there, and that's proceeding.
Yep, that's another one. There's a lot of work being done. We're widening Route 222 from Route 30 for about a mile north. We're replacing the both 222 bridges over Route 30. And doing some lengthening and adding some lanes to the interchange ramps. So that is a very busy interchange in this region, and when that's done, it's going to be a great improvement. But again, it's a lot of work. It's a massive amount of work. It has to be done in sequence. We can't close both bridges, 222 bridges at the same time. We actually have both north and southbound traffic on one of the bridges, so that we could demolish the other one and replace it. So everything is done in sequence, and with the resources available. And it does take time. I just want to assure people that we do plan on finishing that job.
Okay, glad to hear.
But it's going to be a while, though.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about bridges and also the cost of all of these projects.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus, coverage you can count on.
Dave Thompson, who's the district press officer for PennDOT's District 8, is joining us and talking about road construction and bridge construction. Pennsylvania, according to the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, identified more than 12,000 bridges in 2024 that were in need of repairs. Why is that such a high number?
Well, we have an old and continuing to age transportation network in Pennsylvania. I think our bridges average 60 years of age. I think if that is the correct number, but it's about that. And we've been notoriously underfunded for a long time. We have a lot of traffic volumes. We have very high traffic volumes in certain parts of the state, and we have winter as well that impacts our roadway network and our bridges. So all of that together, underfunded, winters, high traffic volumes, older structures, adds up to some wear and tear on our bridges.
Should people be concerned about going over bridges that might be in disrepair?
No, I don't think so. We inspect our bridges regularly. We're required by federal law to inspect our bridges every 2 years. If there's an issue with the bridge, we'll do that more frequently, annually or every 6 months, more frequently if we have to. So we inspect our bridges regularly. If there was a safety issue with a bridge, we would shut it down immediately, and we have done that where we've, for example, a bridge strike that caused instability with a structure, or we found some deterioration. We'll either wait, post it, or we'll close it down immediately if we feel that's posing an imminent danger to the traveling public.
You did put a weight limit on the Route 462 bridge.
Correct,
yeah.
Correct. We during a bridge inspection, we found some deterioration of what we call the load-bearing members of the bridge. That's what holds the deck up. We found some deterioration, and we put a weight restriction on that to 10 tons, not because we thought the bridge was going to collapse and the traffic was going to fall into the river, but just to impede the continued deterioration, to keep its integrity until we can do that, an interim repair, and then ultimately a major rehabilitation project that we have planned in the future for that bridge. You
said underfunded, yet Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas taxes in the country. How do you, balance that?
Yeah, I don't really get into the gas tax too much, but the fact is that we've been underfunded for a long time, and I believe we're playing catch up now. And Act 89 was very helpful in providing additional revenues that we can put in towards our roads and bridges. But there needs to be something more sustainable funding mechanism for us to fund our transportation projects.
And some of these projects are incredibly expensive. $100 million, $36.4 million for Centerville road, and the I-83 is even more. So
yeah. Interstate 83 is a $154 million project. The 222 Route 30 interchange is over $72 million. As you said, Centerville Road's $36 million. Those are just 3 projects. The Eisenhower interchange project that we hope to get started on here in a few years. That's going to be 5 different contracts.
And I'm sure costs are just going up, correct?
Costs up to over possibly $1 billion to do that. The South Bridge that we'd like to get working on here in 2026 is estimated to cost between $1 billion and $1.3 billion, and that's expensive.
Yeah, it's not getting any cheaper.
No.
Well, Dave, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Coming up on WGAL 8 in Focus, a PennDOT supervisor will join us to tell us what he says drivers should do to make road construction workers safer.
This is WGAL 8 in Focus, coverage you can count on.
We're joined now by Adam Hoff, who's a supervisor with Lancaster County PennDOT. Thanks so much for joining the discussion.
You're welcome.
How long have you worked for PennDOT, and what do you do as a supervisor?
I've been with PennDOT 21 years. I supervise supervised my workers, the flagging force, the work zone, traffic setups, whatever we do on the road. It's part of my job to manage them as well and to oversee them.
What is that job like? Do you like it?
I do like it. I do like it. Yes. Yes.
What has changed? You've been there for a number of years and you're out in the thick of things. What do you see as different?
The things that have changed in the last couple of years is the traffic volume. People are not paying attention to our work zone setups. We have road closures and people are still coming through. If they would just learn to pay attention, slow down, and maybe get off their cell phones, would make a difference. It's just not our work zone, PennDOT, it's the contractors as well. They're all over the place, so I wish people would watch out for that.
Dave, is that something you're concerned about when you go to work, that these guys are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Work zone safety is a big issue, during construction season. We see a lot of, as Adam said, aggressive driving, folks not paying attention to the posted speed limit through our work zones, driving aggressively, they're distracted. Yeah, we're very concerned about our workers when they're out there, both our maintenance workers and our contract workers.
And over the years, there have been injuries and fatalities among PennDOT workers and contract workers.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
What do you do to change that kind of culture out there?
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure, what to do. We have our automated work zone speed enforcement that we have in place in certain, work zones where it's appropriate. But enforcement seems to be the best way of getting drivers to do what they're supposed to do when they're out there driving through our work zones.
Those are the cars that people might see in construction zones, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And people get a notice that they've gone through at a high speed?
Yes, yeah. And that has just been made a permanent program in Pennsylvania.
Adam, do you think that has helped?
Somewhat, yes. Yeah. It's just that, like I said, the volume and the traffic and just people not paying attention. I think we need to do more, maybe put it out there more, like on message boards to let people know that there is, work zone traffic, ahead, or it could be anywhere. So yes.
What kinds of things have you experienced?
Oh my goodness, I experienced, if we have a road closure and there's people coming down, and where do I go? I always say follow the detour. There's a detour around. And sometimes they'll come right up on us, and we are scared. We are scared as workers. They come right up on us. So it's a lot over the years I experienced. The biggest thing with my guys and my flaggers, of course I look out for all of them, but the biggest thing is the flaggers, because sometimes they don't have an escape route. So if a car comes up on them, where do you go? So that's my biggest concern with my guys, it's the flaggers.
What has PennDOT done to make sure these workers who are out there are safe?
We're trying to, use as much advanced signing as we can so that, workers are, you know, the motorists have ample warning to understand that they are approaching a work zone. We have set policies and guidelines that we need to follow when we set up our work zones. But I think education, you know, would be helpful in letting the public know that we have people out there and that their behaviors can impact their safety. I mean, that's you know, and their own safety as well, because a lot of the injuries and fatalities that occur in work zones when there are crashes are the motorists themselves. Or their passengers. So I mean, it's you know, it's not just our workers; it's the motorists too that are endangering themselves when they drive aggressively or distracted through work zones.
Or other drivers,
Absolutely,
for that
yep.
matter.
Yes.
Yeah. But do you worry every day when you're out there and you go to work?
No, I don't worry every day. That's just certain jobs that we do. I get concerned a little bit, you know, with the safety of my guys. But yeah.
Right, and I guess some setups are a little more dangerous than others.
They're all different. Every setup can be completely different, so yes.
What about being out there in all kinds of weather?
Yes, I'm not a cool weather guy, but that's part of my job, to be out in the cold doing whatever it may be. But yes, it is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, or in the heat.
Yes, yes.
Well, we hope you stay safe, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for WGAL 8 in Focus. For all of us at WGAL, I'm Susan Shapiro. And join us again next Saturday night at 7 o'clock for WGAL 8 in Focus, right after NBC Nightly News. And you can watch each episode of In Focus, plus WGAL's latest newscasts, original programming, and more. Just download the Very Local app and stream for free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.